Long before we built cities, before kings wore crowns and armies marched, we were not the apex predators, we were prey. Something else ruled the wild. A towering beast with the speed of a charging horse and the power to shatter bone in a single bite. It didn't fear fire, or numbers, or human screams. It stalked the shadows of the Ice Age, silent and relentless, with hunger etched into its very DNA. It didn't wait to be threatened, it hunted us first. No name carved in stone, no hero sung in legend. Just ancient terror, buried deep, forgotten by time, but now it's clawing its way back into the light, and you'll wish you'd never known. Was it just a legend told in hushed voices beside ancient fires, meant to keep children close and the curious indoors? Or was there truth beneath the fear? Could something have walked this earth massive, fast, and intelligent that made early humans rethink their place in the food chain? Ancient cave paintings hint at more than myth. Scars on bones, tools dropped mid-meal, settlements abandoned without a trace. These aren't bedtime stories, they're warning signs. What if this wasn't a creature of legend, but one of biology? A beast science forgot, a predator time buried. But memory? Memory remembers. 20,000 years ago, Earth was locked in ice. Towering glaciers split continents, grinding mountains to dust. Temperatures plummeted, storms raged endlessly. This was not a world made for man, it was a stage set for giants. Mammoths stomped across tundras, woolly rhinoceroses battled for territory, saber-toothed predators stalked the shadows. And we fragile, half-naked, armed with little more than fire and fear, we were trespassers in a frozen kingdom. The cold bit through bone. Hunger gnawed endlessly. Every nightfall brought not rest, but risk. This was no cradle of civilization. It was a crucible of survival. And in that unforgiving landscape, one truth echoed louder than the wind. We were not alone, and we were not in control. We weren't thriving, we were barely holding on. Early humans dug burrows into frozen soil, desperate to escape the cutting winds. Our homes were caves, cold and damp, their walls scorched with soot and fear. Fire was our only defense, its flicker a fragile shield against the darkness. But even fire couldn't silence the night. Every rustle in the brush, every distant howlet sent chills deeper than the ice itself. We weren't alone. Something was out there, watching, waiting. It didn't fear the cold. It didn't fear us. It moved through snow like smoke, soundless and swift. It hunted when we slept, struck when we wandered too far. For every one of us who returned from the woods, there was another who never did. Survival wasn't a triumph, it was a temporary delay of the inevitable. In this brutal world, we weren't the predators, we were the prey, and something ancient knew it. It didn't lumber like modern bears. It didn't forage for berries or climb trees for honey. Arctodus simus, the short-faced bear, was a nightmare wrapped in fur. Standing over 12 feet tall on its hind legs and weighing over 2,000 pounds, it towered over every predator of its time. But the name short-faced is deceiving because what it lacked in snout length, it made up for in death-dealing efficiency. Its legs were long, built for speed across open tundra. It didn't ambush, it chased. Its jaws were massive, with a bite strong enough to crack bones like twigs. Arctodus wasn't a scavenger. It didn't wait for leftovers. It hunted, and it dominated. With a sense of smell that could trace blood through miles of frozen air, it tracked the weak, the lost, the alone. When it came, there was no warning growl, no dramatic roar. Just thunderous speed, and then silence. This was not a bear. This was extinction in motion. Imagine a creature the size of a car running faster than a galloping horse across ice and snow. Arctodus simus could reach 40 miles per hour on frozen terrain, an unstoppable freight train of muscle and bone. Its jaws could exert over 2,000 pounds of pressure, enough to crush a skull or snap a femur with ease. Its sense of smell rivaled the best bloodhounds today. capable of detecting prey from miles away even through wind and snow. This wasn't a clumsy scavenger picking over scraps. Arctodus was a precision killer. It didn't wait for death to find the weak. It delivered death with terrifying speed and purpose. Even saber-toothed cats, the infamous Smilodon, yielded territory when Arctodus approached. Because this beast wasn't just bigger, it was bolder. No stealth, no hesitation, just raw, brutal dominance. It didn't fear competition, it was the competition. And in a world of monsters, Arctodus reigned as the nightmare every creature ran from. Strength alone is terrifying, but intelligence in a killer? That's where horror becomes legend. Arctodus simus didn't just rely on brute force. It calculated, it observed, it learned. It knew when to wait, when to stalk, when to strike. It didn't attack crowded camps, it picked off stragglers. It studied migration routes, watering holes, and human patterns. This wasn't instinct, it was strategy. Some researchers believe its hunting tactics mirrored those of apex predators today. Create panic, then exploit weakness. But unlike wolves or lions, Arctodus didn't leave a scene of violence. It left nothing. No tracks, no blood, no bones. Just the eerie absence of sound where once there was life. Entire groups would go silent, their fires still flickering, their tools untouched. The bear didn't just kill, Bodysit erased them. And that's what made it unforgettable. Not the power, not the speed, but the cold, calculated silence that followed its path. If Arctodus was brute force, Smilodon fatalis was surgical precision. The saber-toothed cat wasn't built for long, Chassesit was built for the kill. Stocky, muscular, and terrifyingly quiet, Smilodon crept through the underbrush like a living shadow. It didn't roar. It didn't announce itself. It waited, patient, cold, focused. And when the moment came, it struck with terrifying speed. Two curved canines, each over 7 inches long, plunged deep, designed not to tear, but to pierce, cutting through flesh, arteries, and bone in a single bite. Prey often died before it knew it had been attacked. Its jaws could open 120 degrees wide, allowing for maximum penetration on impact. This wasn't just a predator, it was an executioner in the dark. To early humans, Smilodon wasn't just feared, it was unseen. A whisper in the forest, a flicker in the brush, and then nothing. Where Arctodus brought chaos, Smilodon brought silence. And in that silence, death was already decided. The forest is still, too still. Your breath clouds the air, shallow and sharp. The fire you built has withered to embers, casting long, twitching shadows against the trees. Every instinct in your body is screaming, but you don't know why yet. Then, you feel it. That ancient, unshakable sensation, being watched. You turn, slowly, and there they are. Two golden eyes low to the ground, motionless, unblinking. They're not curious, they're calculating. A saber-toothed silhouette, half hidden by the underbrush, muscle coiled like a loaded spring. You want to scream, to move, but your body betrays you. Your mind races, but your feet root into the earth. You are no longer the hunter. You are a heartbeat, a target, a moment away from vanishing into silence. And as those eyes narrow, the last thing you understand before everything goes dark is that you were seen long before you ever saw it. In that frozen instant, death had already made its choice. Survival wasn't about bravery, it was about numbers, vigilance, and silence. We huddled together, not for comfort, but for protection. We learned to shape stone into spears, to harden tips in fire, to build traps from bone and instinct. Every step outside the cave became a calculated risk. We studied claw marks on trees. We mapped the direction of paw prints in the snow. We taught our young not to sing, not to wander, not to stare too long into the woods. Fear became our oldest teacher. And still, the darkness claimed us. Camps were found torn apart, fires still smoldering, food untouched, weapons dropped mid-reach. No cries, no trails, no bodies. just absence. As if something massive had swept through and erased every trace of life in a single breath. We didn't defeat these beasts. We endured them, barely. And every scar carved into stone walls, every story passed in whispers, was less a tale of triumph and more a plea. Beware what waits beyond the firelight. Buried beneath layers of ancient soil and frozen time, the bones of Arctodus simus have been unearthed across North America from Alaska to Florida. Enormous skulls with thick, crushing jaws, limb bones as long as a grown man's arm, rib cages broad enough to engulf a human whole. To scientists, these fossils are undeniable evidence. This was not a myth. This predator was real. It was massive. It was dominant. But bones only tell part of the story. What they don't reveal is how it hunted, how it disappeared, or if it truly vanished at all. For every fossil found, there are dozens more lost beneath glaciers, locked in permafrost, or waiting beneath forest floors. What if the story isn't over? What if these bones are not the relics of extinction, but warnings? Echoes of a terror that once ruled and may not be done. Because sometimes, the earth doesn't bury the dead. It preserves them for a return we're not ready for. According to textbooks, Arctodus simus vanished around 11,000 years ago, another casualty of a warming world and changing ecosystems. But what if extinction was only assumed, not proven? In the remote wilds of Alaska and Canada, researchers have stumbled upon massive paw print stew large for any known species. In thawing permafrost, bones have surfaced that show little to no fossilization fresh, preserved, as if time barely touched them. Indigenous oral histories across the Americas speak of a creature that walks like a man, tall, silent, with breath that steams even in summer, and claws that leave no sound. Hunters whisper of vanishing game, of dark shapes glimpsed in the trees, of a killer that leaves no trace but dread. What if Arctodus didn't go extinct, but adapted? What if it retreated deeper into the untouched wild, evolving in silence? Maybe the question isn't if it still exists, but where it waits, hidden, watching, remembering us. In recent genetic studies, scientists discovered something unsettling: fragments of ancient DNA hidden deep within the genomes of modern bears. Not Neanderthal traces, not random mutation, but markers distinct, powerful, echoing a predator long thought extinct. Could Arctodus simus have interbred with other species before vanishing, or did it never truly vanish at all? Some experts suggest we're not looking at hybrids, we're looking at survivors, lineages that retreated into isolated ranges, shifting shape over time, blending into the species we thought we understood. What if the grizzly isn't just a cousin, but a descendant of a killer that once hunted us? What if the blood of a monster still pulses in the forests of North America? Not gone, not forgotten, just waiting. Evolution doesn't always erase. Sometimes it conceals. And beneath the fur and bone of today's beasts may hide the ghost of a terror we've barely begun to comprehend. Have you ever felt it? That sudden chill in the woods, the silence that falls too fast, the instinct to turn around even when nothing's there. It's not paranoia, it's memory. Not yours, but humanity's. A fear older than language, a warning etched into our bones. Our ancestors lived under the constant shadow of predators. They knew the sounds of stalking paws, the stillness before a strike, and they survived by never forgetting. That fear didn't die with the myth lives on in us, in our hesitation to enter dense forests, in our unease with the dark. Something deep within us remembers we were once hunted, and perhaps, in the untouched corners of the world, that balance hasn't changed. Perhaps the forest still has eyes, and perhaps they belong to something older, stronger, and far more patient than we dare imagine. Because fear isn't weakness, it's preservation, and some echoes never fade. So now, it's no longer ancient history. It's personal. What would you do if this Ice Age predator still walked among us? Would you hear it before it struck? Would you recognize the soundless footsteps in the snow, or the way the forest goes quiet just before something moves? Would you run? Would you fight? Or would you do what so many before you did? Freeze and disappear. Because maybe extinction is a myth we tell ourselves to sleep better. Maybe some creatures don't die out. They adapt, they hide, and they wait. In the deepest forests, beneath the thawing ice, in the corners of the map where no satellite sees, what if it's still there? Not in a cage, not in a museum, but out there watching, testing, hunting. This isn't just a story about the past. It's about a fear that still lives inside us. A fear that says, we were once prey. And in some forgotten places, maybe we still are. Subscribe to Prehistoric Shadows for more chilling journeys into our ancient past where forgotten predators, lost civilizations, and unsolved mysteries still lurk just beneath the surface. Featuring AI-powered storytelling, cinematic visuals, and truth-driven prehistoric discoveries, our channel brings the past to life in ways you've never seen. Because this story, it isn't over. It's just been buried beneath the bones of time. And now, it's clawing its way back.